Hello, everyone, and welcome to Wingcat Sports. We're doing our NFC North breakdown for the week. To look at all the other teams inside the NFC North on top of the Lions and what they did today. We'll start with the Bears getting whooped by Kansas City. No surprise there. They lost 41-10. Justin Fields threw for 99 yards, averaged 4.5, had a TD and interception. He also rushed for 47 yards. He was their only offense basically for the day. Besides that, it was all messed up for them.
Yeah, they're a bad team. I'm starting to get off the Justin Fields bandwagon. I really liked him. I thought maybe he could develop. I'm starting to think otherwise. That's just bad. I watched some of that game, most of it, but it was hard.
Yeah.
And,
I think they might even turn it off for some people after a point because it was.
I'll be very surprised. I thought at the beginning of the year that we'd split with them, that they were good enough to kind of steal one. If we lose to them, that's a bad football team. That's a really bad football team.
Yeah. Their next opponent, luckily for them, in the case of trying to get their first win of the year, is against the Broncos, who got creamed today, 70-20.
Well, that was unbelievable.
So, and that will be a game on CBS for all of us to watch if you want to pay attention to that on Sunday, since the Lions won't be playing, and see how badly one of those teams is going to lose.
It might be close. It might be a close game. I certainly think the embarrassment. I mean, that is just, you can't get more beat down than that. I was, when I saw that score, I couldn't believe it. So I mean, they're thinking the same thing the Bears are. We can win this game.
Probably.
Maybe the only game we're going to win.
Both those games were kind of an embarrassment, but
the Broncos have a lot more wrong with them than the Bears. The Bears are just simply, I don't think, they have the talent yet. But it's everything with the Broncos. I just think that is a total mess with garbage from the organization, coach, everything on down.
It will be interesting to see exactly how that game goes on Sunday.
Yep.
Moving on to Minnesota. Minnesota also lost today. They couldn't end up getting a touchdown at the end of the game when the Chargers went for it on 4th and 10 on their own 25.
Yeah.
And they failed to do so, and they couldn't get in the end zone.
What was the reasoning for that? Did you hear that? Yep. Why they did that?
I'm assuming just to keep the ball and end the game. I have no idea why the Chargers did that, but it worked out in the end anyways.
Nice.
And it is no fault to Kirk Cousins again.
No.
Kirk Cousins has shown he is a very capable QB this year. Again, he threw for 50 attempts, 32 of 50, 367 yards, averaged 7.3, had 3 touchdowns, and then an interception to end the game. But, I mean, he's throwing for almost 350 yards in the first 3 games this year.
Right.
At least 3 TDs per game. And he's just not on a good team right now. They cannot figure out a way to win, right? They figured out their rushing attack this week. They had 130 yards. They did not have Akers on their team today, though. So that was not a part of their team.
Right. I mean, it is kind of befuddling, but I'm glad it's happening. Helps us out. And the Chargers don't look much better. But they had to win. One of those 2 teams had to win today, and it was the Chargers. I think pretty much, not that Minnesota's out of it yet, because our division is so strange, and I really don't know which way anything's going to go at the end.
I think they will have to win this week. You can't start 0-4 in this division. With us and the Packers, if we're going to continue our momentum and the Vikings want even a chance, they're not going to want to lose a 4th straight game to start the year. And they have the ability. They again are going to, it's again a winless matchup next week, right? You have the Bears and Broncos both winless playing each other. And now you're going to have the Vikings and Panthers this week playing each other on Fox. So you can pick your division rival you want to watch this week with the 0-3 matchups. They're in Carolina. Carolina could easily beat the Vikings, I think, especially since they're at home and Bryce Young might be able to find his way. But without the Vikings offense, I probably could see the Vikings actually winning that game more.
I think they certainly should be favored, but I watched Carolina play Seattle today, and they looked, not bad. I mean, their defense wasn't good. Again, watch Seattle, and you feel a little less bad about that loss. Seattle's a good team.
Yeah.
They're going to put points on the board against most teams. Had a bad first week
And-
against LA, but they righted the ship, and they're a force.
And looking at the continuation of the Vikings schedules for an extra week, not to get off topic, they have to beat the Panthers because they face the Chiefs after they face the Panthers. So they would
That
start.
could be 0
They
5.
they could start 0-5 if they don't beat the Panthers
Wow.
next week. That is not good for them. And that'd be going into Chicago. You might play at home against Chicago, and you're going 0-5 in Chicago. You might go 0-6. You might not have that momentum at that point.
I don't think anyone's losing to the Bears this year. They're
Well, if the Vikings and Bears both start 0-5,
they're not the worst team in the league. I mean, they're right there, one or two, top three, one of the three worst teams in the league. And to me, right now, they look like the worst.
Yeah, the Vikings have a good offense. Their defense has just killed them. But we'll move on to the Packers now. The Packers ended up winning today off a lucky field goal missed by the Saints kicker. They ended up winning 18-17, having a fourth quarter comeback. They probably would not have won that game if Derek Carr didn't get hurt. Jameis Winston did his best to get them in the best position they could to win, and he did. And the kicker just ended up missing it. But Jordan Love had an okay day. He was 22 of 44, so 50% on his completions, 259 yards, a touchdown, and an interception today. So he threw his first pick of the year. It is going to be interesting to see this game coming up for us against them, how exactly it's going to go. But overall, there's not really too much looking at how he's 50% throwing, right? The Packers are going to need to figure a couple things out before playing us on Thursday to probably have a better chance. They're going to have a good chance to beat us, but to have a better chance, they'll have to figure something out.
It's going to be an interesting game. I think Thursday will tell us a lot about the directions of the teams. If they're going to be close all year long, or if one team is definitely better than the other. I expect a close matchup, but I agree with you. Jordan Love has been serviceable, and he's getting better. He's not Aaron Rodgers. He's not Brett Favre. He's at this point, at least, maybe he'll turn into that, but I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think he could be a good quarterback in this league, and this is going to be a tight game. I expect it to be a tight game.
Yeah.
But if Detroit brings the fire that they brought today and brought last year in Lambeau, I think we'll win that game.
Yeah, and looking ahead, since they are facing the Lions this week, we'll go the week after to see how important of a game this might be for the Packers to continue on, right? Whether they'll be 500 and having to try to get back above 500 or stay or might end up being below 500. They face the Raiders in Oakland, in Vegas the week after. So they'll have a challenge the week after, and then they face the Broncos after that. So they'll have their opportunity. I don't know if this one's going to be a must-win game for the Packers.
I think we're
but they probably are going to treat it as a must-win.
Don't you think we're kind of in parallel courses? Because Vegas hasn't been good this year, and I think honestly, whoever wins our game, I think both Green Bay and us should win their next two matchups after that, and we're going to be close all year long. We're going to be right next to each other for the most part. Until maybe one or the other. The second half of the season is going to get tougher schedule wise, so we'll see. But I like Green Bay. I said that before the end of the year. I thought they were going to be a decent team.
Yeah, and looking at the Lions before we fully go into the Thursday kind of matchup one last time as like a little pregame before our actual pregame comes out. Jared Goff did good, right? 22 of 33, 243 yards, a touchdown, and a pick today. They figured out their rushing game as well. So Detroit had a very round offense today, which is good. And if they can probably keep that offense going, I don't see why they would struggle against Green Bay. If they can play like they did today, they'll at least make it a game and have a really good chance to win. But they have to play like they did today.
They have to bring that kind of energy. I thought Goff probably had one of his worst games in a while, but it wasn't a bad game. He actually He's showing resilience. He's tough. That interception was legit his fault. It was a bad pass, but he was knocked around an awful lot today. And that was to be expected with that offensive line. Probably, and it was hard to run the ball the first 3 quarters, and then Jahmyr Gibbs took off in the fourth. We started to see what we hoped we'd see. And, I don't mind going into that game on Thursday with Bam Knight and Jahmyr Gibbs as our running backs.
Yeah.
I think we can be okay.
I think we'll be fine. To kind of give future emphasis on this game to see how you might want to look at it, since they are playing each other. After the Packers, the Lions are going to face the Panthers. They are 0-3 currently, and they're going to face the Vikings, and they could be 0-4 or to 0-5 when we go and face 0-4 when we face them. Right? So
we're not playing the Vikings.
No, I'm saying Panthers.
Oh, Panthers, right.
Panthers after the Packers, right? So honestly, for neither team, this is a must-win, but it's going to be basically the statement of I should be the one who's leading this division for the remainder of this season. I am the better team in this division. It's not a must-win because both teams' schedules the next few games after this one isn't too difficult and you could bounce back, but it is more or less a statement of who is supposed to be better in this division over the other.
Right. And they're banged up too. I just think we should throw everything at these. We should go after this game. Just play it, loose and throw everything at them and try to win this game because we'll have 10 days off afterward to try to get healthy for Carolina. And that would be great going to that game 3-1.
If you're on that, you probably end that game. If you end up beating the Packers, you're going to probably beat the Panthers, leading you to being 4-1 going into the Bucs.
Right. We need to beat the teams we should beat, and we should beat the next 3 teams. If we can do that, Baltimore kind of scares me, but it's not that we can't beat Baltimore. We could. We just got to keep it going. Keep this train going.
Yes.
Like Dan Campbell says, somebody gets hurt, doesn't stop the train, man. Got to keep going.
And it is going to be interesting because we are getting a little bit off topic looking in the future of the Lions schedule.
Oh, yeah.
But if you do go look into the Ravens, right? You beat the Ravens. Let's say you beat the Ravens. You got an extra day to get ready for the Raiders. And that's at home on Monday night. You probably could win that game.
Oh, you should.
And then you got your bye week to get yourself ready to go out to LA.
See, so by the bye week, I expect this team to be at least 6-2. 6-2 is reasonable by the bye week.
Yeah, when you get back from the bye week, your schedule still isn't that difficult. You really don't run into any bad games until the last 3 of the year. Currently, with how the games are going, that might not mean the same thing once we get to that 8th game of the year. But overall, still looking at the whole entire big picture.
Right. Injuries will have an effect, and we'll have to look at it. But I agree with you. And if we can keep it going, I don't know. It's looking good so far. I despite the injuries, if we can just get a little healthier, we do need to do that because we're really banged up.
Yeah.
But that's why Thursday's game is kind of important, but it's not a do or die thing.
Get through the game with no injuries if you can, minimal injuries, and you could be pretty healthy coming out of that week against Carolina. You probably won't get hurt that much against Carolina. Yeah. You won't really probably sustain any big injuries if you're really, really fighting it out until Baltimore. So if you can get through this week without injuries, that's the best thing.
We're not going to, like I said, I don't know how the short week is run, but I imagine they'll have maybe one run through.
They'll probably have a practice tomorrow, a practice Tuesday,
take a break
Wednesday.
On Mondays, I don't think.
It's a short week, so they might.
If they do, it's going to be a very light. I don't think you're going to see anything this week. Any of the practices will be heavy. And then come Thursday, it'll be interesting. But same thing for the Packers. They're dealing with the exact same thing.
Yep.
So it's not like they have an advantage over us.
Should be a good game. With that being said, though, right, if you like what you see, like, comment, subscribe, right, share the video around. Until next time, hope to see everybody soon.